Hi everyone, David Aragona and Mike Beer here taking a look at the DRF Friday race of the day, which will take place on Friday night at Charlestown. It is the premier race of their season in West Virginia, the Grade 2 Charlestown Classic. This one going the three-turn distance of 1 mile and 1/8. And Mike, the number 4, Skippy Longstocking, who will be the favorite in this race, he has owned this race for the past couple of years. His last 2 victories in this Charlestown Classic in 2023 and 2024 have basically been carbon copies of each other, where he goes right to the front end and dominates. We'll see if the other horses in this race allow him to get that same kind of trip this time, because it does feel like he's facing a competitive group, but Skippy is clearly the one to beat.
Yeah, we'll see. Maybe they go a little faster early in here and deny him the early lead, and maybe that'll make a difference. Either way, he's just way the horse to beat in here. He's really, really good. He obviously likes this three-turn configuration at Charlestown, and he actually comes into this race in good form again. He's a really nice horse.
With this being the Friday race of the day, you can get free past performances for this race and every single race of the day. And those free PPs include Classic, Formulator, and Timeform US PPs. And speaking of Timeform US, let's take a look at the Timeform US pace projector. And like we know, Skippy Longstocking is a horse that's gone to the front end in this race in past years. Could be more contention for the front in this race, because there are other horses that do need to be forward to have their best chances. I probably think the stablemate Alexander Helios, is shown ahead of him, won't be one of that goes to tangle with the other Saffie Joseph runner in here, Skippy Longstocking. But the 2 Awesome Aaron wins his best races up front. Trademark can have speed, but especially the number 7 Willie D's. He feels like a horse from his outside post that probably needs an aggressive ride to have his best chance.
I agree. Yeah, we'll see. I certainly can see both the 6 and the 7 trying to be forward in this race. We'll see how fast they go. If nothing else, and Skippy Longstocking, again, he's wired this race the last 2 years. He doesn't need the lead, David. So we'll see if they deny it to him this time. But I do think they will come out of there running again, and I think they're going to be right up close.
Let's go through this field from the rail out, beginning with the number 1, Banishing. And Mike, this horse that we've talked about in quite a few stakes previews we've done over the past year. It seems like he runs every 3 or 4 weeks, and he typically runs well, despite that aggressive schedule that David Jacobson has put him on. He has held his form for the past 8 or 9 months or so, and he's competed over a variety of distances during that time. He's used different running styles, but he just always seems to be around at the end, and he's coming off 2 of his better performances, especially last time in that 6.5 furlong sprint at Ellis Park, where he was running down a pretty fast sprinter in Booth on the front end, and he lunged late to just get his nose down on the wire first. This is a really game horse when he's put in position to make his move, and I'm expecting him to run well here over a distance that might be stretching him just a little bit.
Yeah, listen, it's remarkable the run of form that he's been on, and he just keeps showing up, and he doesn't tail off, David. I've been waiting for this horse to tail off for about 4 or 5 months now, and it just hasn't happened. He keeps showing up and running really good races. Again, we'll see what kind of trip he gets in here, and we'll see, if the 9 I personally feel like 9 furlongs might be a little bit too far for him, but 9 furlongs around 3 turns, it really shortens the race up for a horse like him, and I think that's going to help him.
That's a really good point about the configuration. It's not always the same test of stamina you would think it'd be, with more turns involved. And this is a horse that has run well at 9 furlongs in the past. When you go back to that Oaklawn handicap, he easily beat today's favorite, Skippy Longstocking, in that race. The number 2, Awesome Aaron, is a bit of a puzzling one to assess, Mike, because he's coming off an awful effort in the Suburban last time, where he took some money. It looked like a strong contender on paper, but just never traveled that well and dropped out of the race around the far turn. He had great form coming into that race, winning 2 races in a row with fast triple-digit buyer speed figures, including the Pimlico Special. Just have to figure out what happened last time.
I know he was so bad last time that it's hard for me to want to be too forgiving. I guess if he's some kind of big price in here and you feel like he's going to be able to rebound, that's okay with me. But he was so bad last time that I can't get behind him. And then I just add in the fact that I don't even know where the races 2 and 3 back came from, David. I mean, he wasn't that good before that. All of a sudden, he runs 2 huge races, then he's terrible again last time. He's not for me, but I'll be interested to see what he does.
He has a tough call in this race, but he did draw well around the inside post for that 3-turn configuration. The number 3, Alexander Helios, he is the bigger priced of the 2 Saffie Joseph runners in this race, and kind of another 1-number horse, Mike, or 1 or 2-number horse. I mean, he ran a big race going 4 back at Gulfstream Park Wing and Allowance, and came back to upset the Razorback with a 102 buyer. Since then, things have not gone his way, and he's another horse like Awesome Aaron, who's just coming off an abysmally bad effort in the Blame last time, where he had speed early, but was completely empty by the time they got to the far turn.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, his last 2 races are actually pretty bad. So we'll see if he can rebound here. I don't know. He's another horse. I don't think he's quite good enough here, assuming some of the other ones show up. And I didn't like him that much in this race. And I'm also worried what kind of trip he's going to be able to get in here. To me, that's maybe the biggest issue. But he's another horse. He's a good price if you like him.
Up next is that one, Saffie Joseph trained stablemate Skippy Longstocking, who, as we've been saying, is trying to win this Charlestown Classic for the third year in a row. And let's dial back the clock and take a look at his victory in this race back in 2024, where he beat one of today's rivals, who we'll talk about in just a little bit, Komorobino Amoide. But that runner is left in the dust of Skippy Longstocking, who got right to the front end and just runs this field into the ground, Mike. And we talked about it earlier. He's gotten very good trips in this race the past couple of seasons. Now, since winning this most recent Charlestown Classic, he's won a couple of races at the grade 3 and grade 2 level. That's kind of his MO. When he steps up against grade 1 horses, he's typically overmatched. That was the case last time in the Whitney, but he used the exact same pattern coming into this race last year.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he's just not quite a grade 1 horse. And he's run well in a few grade 1 races along the way. He's just not quite good enough to win races like that. But grade 2, grade 3, this horse is a handful just about every time. He's been very well managed by Saffie Joseph. They've won a bunch of races. They've made a lot of money with him. Again, he's won this race the last 2 years in a row. We keep saying that on the lead. It feels like they'll get aggressive with him from the gate here. I don't think he needs the lead to be effective, but I think they're going to come out of there running and go forward in here. And I just expect him to be really, really hard to beat right back, David. He can still run. And his last 2 wins, the wins in this race the last 2 years, they were both really strong performances.
And I know his Whitney looks bad on paper. He made a crazy middle move to take that race over and actually break that race open in the middle of it. So I don't want to be too hard on him for losing that race by nearly 13 lengths. The number 5, Komorobino Amoide, the Japanese bred, is coming in off a couple of turf races, and he's actually run okay on the turf, but I think he's a better dirt horse. So I think he's getting back to the right surface here, Mike, but he ran pretty well in this race last year, still was no match for Skippy Longstocking, and I just have trouble pointing to the race in the past year that makes me really want to bet him in this spot.
I agree. I mean, listen, his form's excellent. He's been in really good form for a long time. He always shows up, and when he's well spotted, he can be really tough. I'm just not sure that he's necessarily that well spotted here. It's a tough race for him. I think the real positive with him is, first of all, he's probably going to be a decent price in here, and he's another horse. You know, when they run him on the bull ring, at the bull ring racetracks, he runs really, really well. Fauner Park back at the end of April, that's a 3-turn race. He just crushed that field. Delta Downs, that's about a bull ring race there. The Delta Mile, he just crushed that field, and he ran fine in this race last year.
That's actually a really good point about this horse, so he might appreciate the configuration at Charlestown. The number 6, Trademark, is a horse who has run a couple races in his past, Mike, that would make him interesting here. It's just that they came a long time ago, and he really has not put forth an effort that makes him competitive at this level since he upset the grade 2 Clark back at the end of 2023. And his last effort at Saratoga was one of his worst of his recent races, and he just feels a little tough to make a case for at this point in his career.
I agree. I mean, I guess he could show some speed in here, but I don't know how much that's going to help him considering the likely pace of this race. And he just really, to me, he hasn't been that good since the Clark. And the Clark was a really nice win for him at the end of 2023. I thought he got kind of lucky even to win that race. And his form just hasn't been that good since then.
Number 7, Willie D's is a horse that's in great form coming into this Charlestown Classic. He's looking for his 3rd win in a row. He stepped up to Stakes Company last time in the Schaefer Memorial at Horseshoe Indy. We'll take a look at the stretch run of that race. And he got to the front end here, Mike, is able to slow down the pace pretty much. And this was a track that seemed to be favoring speed a little bit, and it definitely worked for him. He's able to draw away from this field in the late stages, but he's paired up some pretty big buyer speed figures, a 102 back at Saratoga, a 98 for this race. Those put him within range of the favorite. I just wonder if he's going to have a slightly more difficult pace to deal with this time.
Yeah, he's been a very good claim for Mike Maker. I look at him, it sounds like the same way you do. I won't knock his recent form. He does want to be forward, though, and may even be best on the lead in his races. And I'm not really sure he's going to get a comfortable trip up there this time. We'll see how they wind up betting. If he's 3-1, I'm way against this horse.
Yeah, he's 3-1 on the line. The horse that we're going to talk about next, the number 8, Gould's Gold, is 12-1 on the line, despite the fact that Gould's Gold beat Willie D's on the square 2 back at Churchill Downs, going this same 9 furlong distance. So that doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. Gould's Gold did come back in his last race and lose at a very short price of Prairie Meadows. We'll take a look at the stretch run of that race. And Mike, I didn't love the trip that he got. It's not like he didn't have room to come through down on the inside, but I know Brian Hernandez is a jockey that loves to commit to these rail runs. It doesn't necessarily necessarily work for every single horse. And just felt like this one, once he found the daylight inside, got rolling a little bit too late.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I didn't love that they sort of committed to the rail there. Maybe he just didn't have any other, opportunities to really get out. But you could see that Hernandez, he wanted to cut the corner there and come through. And he didn't initially make it. He did eventually make it. But when he wanted to get through there, it was a little tight and he didn't. And the 1-2 finishers got the jump on him. He ran fine in there. I really liked his win 2 starts back when he beat Willie D's. I really liked the stretch run that he put in to win that race. I've always been a fan of this horse, David. I think he's better than he looks on paper. We'll see what kind of trip he can get. Post date's no bargain for him. These horses, hopefully they'll go in front of him. He'll be able to get over, save some ground, and then get himself into position up the backstretch, because you got to be in position up the backstretch in this kind of a race. If he can get there, I think he can make a little bit of noise in the stretch of this race at a price.
Yeah, he's definitely a horse that will be hoping some of those speeds take shots at Skippy Longstocking in the middle of this race, because that's what's going to need to happen for a closer to win here. Let's go to our picks for this Friday race of the day. And Mike, you're going to go to the horse that we were just talking about, Gould's Gold, on top.
Yeah, I'm not way against Skippy Longstocking in here, and I'm not going to sit here and pretend I'm going to have a ton of money in against him, but I do want to bet Gould's Gold if he's, around that morning line price. If they bet him down, I don't want him in here, but if he's 8-10 to 1, I want to take a little shot with him. Again, I've just always been a fan. I like him. I think he's in good form on the way into this.
And I've become a fan of the horse that I picked on top, the number 1 Banishing. He's just the kind of horse that makes you a fan, because he keeps trying hard, despite the fact that he's been put on this aggressive campaign that a lot of horses wouldn't be able to stand up to. He just keeps running well, and he's run some races in his past going a mile and a 16th, mile and an 1/8 that give him a real chance in here, and he probably won't be the favorite. So number 1 for Banishing for me, 1-4-2-8, and Mike's going for the number 8 Gould's Gold, 8-4-1-5 for him in the Grade 2 Charlestown Classic, the DRF Friday race of the day. Good luck if you're playing the races later this week.